Lean in Construction, a guide for client organisations. My name's Gerry Chick from Collaborative Improvement Limited, and I was asked to author this guide by CIRIA. My background prior to starting Collaborative Improvement was with BAA, who I worked with for over 30 years. A great deal of that time was working in construction, in improving and working with BAA suppliers and supply chains for improved performance, using Lean and a number of other tools and techniques. When I left, I was BAA's Supplier Relationship and Performance Manager, looking at construction and all the other supply chains. So, to go to the guide itself. Why should you read this guide? Well, I believe that our public buildings and infrastructure still cost a little more than they really should. Lean, at its best, is a simple, intuitive way to remove waste of all kinds from everything we do. Reading this guide is a first step on the road to better, more cost-effective, quicker, safer, more sustainable, and indeed more enjoyable ways of constructing our built environment. This guide has been authored by me and reviewed by other individuals who have worked for some of the UK's leading client organisations in terms of delivering Lean solutions within their supply chains. These include the Highways Agency, the Ministry of Justice, Anglian Water and Sellafield, all of whom I'm sure you'll agree are leading clients within the UK. So what's the background to the topic? Why are we interested? Well, I suppose interest in Lean really began in about 1995 when Lord Latham wrote his report, which identified a high level of waste within the UK's building and construction industry. Quite a lot of that due to the adversarial nature of the industry. So John Egan really then highlighted the way forward with 2 reports, and now the government are asking for a 20% saving on the building and infrastructure work they commission, which again is highlighting the need for improvement. This guide is structured in 3 parts. Part 1 looks at lead principles for the building and infrastructure client. Part 2 begins to look at the practice. And Part 3 then provides a detailed roadmap for introducing Lean into your organisation and into your contractors and your supply chains. The first part, Lean Principles for the Building and Infrastructure Client, first of all discusses why there's a need for the client to be involved. I believe that the client's ideally placed to in fact demand that waste is taken out of their projects and that Lean is introduced. Great Expectations then looks at the necessity of translating the kind of Lean that's used in manufacture into something that's appropriate for construction, and indeed then adapting it further for your own organisation, because all our cultures are different, so the way we introduce Lean needs to be different in every case. Waste is so much more than wasted materials. Waste can be accidents. Waste can be environmental problems. Waste can be wasted time. And all these lead to additional cost, which none of us want. And certainly our clients and end users don't. So the last part is understanding Lean basics. And it really looks at value in detail and why value doesn't always equate to cost. And indeed, why cost isn't the same as price. Part 2 starts to begin to look at the practice. There's a brief introduction, and this is followed by Lean Client Leadership and what that involves. There's then a section on values for Lean Client Leadership. So what's underpinning the way we go about doing Lean, and how can this be introduced into the supply chain? It then talks about how Lean's possible for all different client organisations. You don't have to be the Highways Agency. Maybe you're just introducing 1 or 2 commissions occasionally, but each project can still be Lean. We then talk about 4 critical success factors for Lean. Very often people think of Lean as simply being a basket of tools and techniques. This isn't the case. also requires the right commercial model, the right contract, and above all, the right behaviours and culture. At the end of this section, there's an introduction to the third part, which provides an overview of the roadmap. The roadmap itself, which is part 3, provides the detail of how to introduce lean, as I say, into your own organisation, into your contracts, and into your supply chains. This is split into 6 steps, so each roadmap section has a step. These are establishing the basics, acquisition for improved performance, creating a collaborative team, lean implementation on site, multiple projects, supplier performance and relationship management for sustained success. They're all equally as important. Now, at the beginning of each of these sections, there's an overview. So each step has an overview which looks very similar to the one you can see now. In this section, for example, who to involve, we would suggest you involve your customers and end users, procurement, your commercial management and project construction teams, also the maintenance and operation teams that are going to be looking after the building or infrastructure once it's complete. And again, a lean champion or other facilitator that's going to guide you through the process. There's a section on key inputs. Here we're suggesting a clear understanding of customer needs and values, and data on your existing supply chain are important. There are then a number of actions, and each of these steps broken down into 6 actions. Here you can see for the first step, there's create the client team, understand value, establish criteria, look at how lean your incumbent suppliers are, choose an approach, and begin to select the lean team. There are also outputs, which tells you what to expect when you've gone through each step. Here you'll have a set of weighted generic criteria, lean assessment of your existing supply chain, and a general approach to be adopted. The other 2 sections are hints and tips, things we found useful when we've been introducing lean into our own organisations. So, for example, here at the first stage, please involve too many rather than too few people. This is to avoid the risk of alienating them at a later date. And also make sure that you really do understand what your customers and end users value. Only understanding what they value can you then go and eliminate waste, which is by definition what they don't value. And finally, there's a section on the tools and techniques we suggest you use. Here we're suggesting brainstorming, reaching agreement, lean assessment tools, and contract and commercial modelling. Finally, throughout the guide, there are a number of illustrations of various things we talk about in the text. So here is an example of a collaborative planning workshop. Well, that's all I've really got to say. If you'd like to talk to me about any of the detail within the guide once you've read it, please telephone me on please telephone Gerry Chick on 01747 007 424 or email me at gerry@collaborativeimprovement.co.uk. Now for the important bit. Please go to the CIRIA site and download the guide on www.ciria.org/service/lean. Thank you very much for listening.